Am I the asshole for flipping out on my son's school after they lied to him about donation prizes? I will try not keep this short with just points rather than description. If info is needed, please ask. Son is in 4th grade. School is only open on Mondays. The rest of the week he is home with me. They don't do virtual learning during the rest of the week. No Zoom calls are made. No teacher actually checks in. Homework at home is not to be sent back to the school, and instead they get a participation grade the following week if they tell their teacher they completed it. It's backwards, and your students aren't being graded for the work they actually do. Every Monday we get a new flyer in the mail asking for donations. Last week we got a flyer that said to send out 20 emails to individuals to ask them for donations, with the promise of prizes for participation. They also had other prizes on this flyer. Basically, the more people who donate using your name, the bigger the prize you get. My son wanted the headphones prize. Nowhere on the flyer did it say how many donations was needed. I called the school to ask and they said 12. I sent out the 20 emails. 14 people donated. The donation list was to be emailed to the school with the student ID, and we were to pick up the prizes this past Monday. Son was losing his mind excited because he got the 12 donations needed for the headphones. We walk in and they proceed to tell me and my son that he did not qualify for the prize because in order to be eligible, you needed to get those 20 donations. Apparently the prizes for donations started counting after you received the 20. They turned damn near every student away, not just my kid. So I sent the boy out with his father and pulled the teacher and principal aside to let them know that I thought it was fucked up that they got these kids' hopes up for absolutely nothing, and that all they accomplished was destroying the children's spirits by lying to their faces. I then told them that I was told by the secretary that he only needed 12 donations for those headphones. They said, "Sorry you feel that way. This is just how things are right now due to COVID." So I responded with, "Oh. So lying to students and breaking their spirits is okay because of COVID? Failing to provide virtual learning for the rest of the week like other schools is okay because of COVID? Asking for donations when the kids are only here once a week must be okay too, right?" I then walked out. Well, my son got the headphones in the mail today with a note from the superintendent that said, "I'm very sorry for the actions of the school system and the confusion formed around the donation drive. We are trying to work with the families, not turn them away. Please accept this as an apology. My son is over the moon. My husband says that I was being a Karen and that we should have just dropped it because it teaches our son that life isn't fair, and that I now look like an asshole helicopter parent. Am I the asshole? I don't think I am."
Not the asshole. Being a Karen is when you make an overly dramatic scene over something that either doesn't matter or isn't actually an issue. You made a point to pull the principal aside and not make a public scene to make a legitimate point. Not the asshole. It sounds more like a pyramid scheme than a fundraiser, and by not laying out clear guidelines for prizes it allowed them to pull crap like this. They knew exactly what they were doing.
Not the asshole, not the asshole, not the asshole. As a teacher myself, that's messed up. Can't believe the school actually done that to the kids after everything that's going on. They basically lied and got their hopes up. You did the right damn thing. Next time they know not to play stupid games.
Your husband needs to look up the definition of a Karen. You handled this like a, well, IDK, what they call badass moms. I vote we should use your name because this is exactly how you handle that situation. Tears of joy, tears of joy.
Not the asshole. They lied and tried to cover it up by blaming you. You taught your son to hold people accountable for the truth. Is this a public school? Because if it is a private school, I would not pay their tuition at all. They are not teaching. Not the asshole. Calling you a Karen for not letting the school get away with lying is really sexist. He thinks women should shut up and never complain because life is not fair. No dude. Complaining about the school administration lying to its students makes you a responsible parent. Your husband is afraid to speak up, and is embarrassed because you are not. He needs to grow a spine, not insult you because he's afraid to. Edited. Typos.
Hell no, not the asshole. And tell your husband, the superintendent doesn't get involved unless it's a big deal. That's all the proof you need, right there. Not the asshole. Just because you spoke sternly with someone in charge doesn't make you a Karen. Sometimes that's what's needed. They should have been more clear about the rules, like every donation I've seen run ever, and the way the school is teaching and grading or not, more like is fucked up and not good for students' long-term education. Not the asshole. Life may not always be fair, but that is all the more reason for your son to learn to challenge unfairness. I would hazard a guess that the school may have underestimated the number of donations that would be made, and the number of prizes they would need to hand out. If kids were expected to send out 20 emails, it stands to reason that 20 would be the maximum number of donations to be made in any child's name. It therefore makes no sense that your son would need to get 32 donations to qualify for a prize.
Not the asshole. If that's exactly what they said and not that you need 20 donors, then they should be ashamed of themselves. Considering the superintendent got involved and took your side, I assume you were right. It's not being a Karen to look out for your child when they're being cheated.
NTA. Nowadays I think people use the word Karen too loosely. Some actions are justified and does not make you a Karen. I think people should be more aware of what being a Karen really means.
Not the asshole. The life isn't fair bullshit is nonsense that breaks down a child's spirit. It's not a realistic thing that you need to teach your kids. Let your kids be happy. I'm glad you called the school out on their nonsense. My mom would have done the same thing.
Not the asshole. This school sounds super shitty and I would have done the same thing.
Not the asshole. This was a scam and they got caught. Nothing more, nothing less.
Not the asshole. I hate how it's become acceptable to call every woman who stands up for herself a Karen, which is such a sexist slur. What the school did was unacceptable, but your husband also sounds like an asshole. Why does he think standing up for your son and his education is a bad thing? Is he embarrassed that he didn't have the guts to do it himself?
Not the asshole. You are the anti-Karen we all need.
Do I even need to provide reasoning? Not the asshole.
Not the asshole. What the school did was messed up. I don't think you were a Karen in this situation at all. I think you rightfully stood up for your child and other children at the school. I'm glad your son got the headphones. Not the asshole. This type of situation is exactly why my son and I don't participate in fundraisers from the school. And they used to do them once a month. It was exhausting.
Not the asshole and not a Karen at all. I get that this whole COVID thing has school systems struggling to adapt and figure out how to move forward in the long term while we still see infection rates going up and no vaccine in sight. However, most school districts have figured out at least a very basic, structured system for virtual learning or hybrid learning. And donations and fundraising isn't something new. Typically the prizes are outlined so that the children and parents have clarity and a goal they can obtain. This school district sounds base awkward.
Not the asshole. You called them on their bullshit and stood up for yourself, your son, and the other students. You've earned a good parent cookie. Go treat yourself.
Not the asshole. They asked for donations and lied to you and make an unreasonable demand as far as pulling donations in 20 donations before they start counting. That's absurd. This feels more like a pyramid scheme than anything, especially giving you false information and then turning around and saying, sorry, actually no one gets prizes. If they wanted to do a drive with no incentive, they could have. But instead they did, so they should pay up. You had every right to be angry, considering they lied to families and children. And they should be providing more for your child to learn. I know it's tough with everything going on, but they should be having at least some more than one day a week schooling.
Not the asshole. But WTH sort of schooling system is that?
Not the asshole, and honestly it's concerning he's insulted you in this way for standing up for your son.
What are the schools using the fundraising money for?
Not the asshole. Schools are facing problems because school administration actually has to work for the first time in their careers.
What are the teachers getting paid for if they aren't instructing students the 4 other days? These kids are getting so far behind. This is coming from a parent of 3 elementary children that have virtual learning 5 days a week with Zoom for 5 hours a day. Thank God we are going back 2 days next week. What are they raising money for? Do they have plans to come back and they need plexiglass? Masks.
Not the asshole. In fact, depending on where you live, if they continue doing stuff like this, I would consider going over their heads to whoever can hold them responsible, the governor. to complain because clearly the school is doing a bad job and not even teaching your kid.
Not the asshole. They can't blame everything on COVID. They already use that excuse for their idea of education. My hometown school district is sort of the same way with their schedule. Teachers have completely let students down. The district is to blame too.
I get filled with rage every time a woman posts here that she makes a perfectly reasonable complaint, but gets called a Karen by her own husband, boyfriend, fiancé. Being a woman who can stand up for yourself and your kid doesn't make you a Karen.
Not the asshole. The school lied to its students in writing so clearly not just a misunderstanding, and then refused to fix their error. Also they turned damn near every student away, not just my kid. And the fact that the superintendent got involved suggests that you were far from the only one to complain. Not the asshole. Your husband was right that life isn't fair. That's why you have parents, to show you that while life isn't fair, your parents will have your back. Or at least your mother will.
Clearly not the asshole. You did what a mom should do. And how do they expect kids to be motivated at all, once per week, if they feel lied to and betrayed by the system they're supposed to believe in? Good for you. Your kid is in good hands, Mom. Now your husband needs to learn the definition of a Karen. It's not you.
NTA.
Not the asshole. Your husband sounds spineless. Standing up for a 9-year-old who's been scammed doesn't make you a helicopter. That's exactly the kind of time a parent should step in. And yes, your son needs to know that life's not fair. He also needs to recognize when he can do something about it rather than allow himself to be walked on. Tell Hubs to quit using words he doesn't know the meaning of.
Not the asshole. I am irritated by all the guys lately I've heard who seem to use Karen as an insult to a woman just asserting herself. Seems like that school could benefit from some reflection on how they are servicing their students in more ways than one. Not the asshole. So many of these posts end with husbands telling their wives that they're being a Karen. It's insane. You are a good mom and you were standing up for your kid. Well done.
This was being a mama bear protecting your cub. Not the asshole.
Not the asshole. The school screwed up whether intentionally or not, and got called on it. Not a Karen because you were reasonable, didn't make a public scene, and obviously weren't the only parent to complain. You did good.
Not the asshole. You would have been a Karen if you'd caused a scene in front of numerous people because your precious baby boy needed those headphones despite only getting 2 of the agreed upon 12 requisite donations. You asked the parameters of the drive, fulfilled beyond what was told was required, and when given a shitty attitude about it, you called them on their bullshit. Calling people out for lying, not delivering on promises, being deceptive, especially when doing it away from the crowd, is not being a Karen. That's actively trying to fix a messed up situation.
Not the asshole. They pulled a bait and switch and expected you all to just be okay with it after pulling out all the stops to get the donations. Info: what are they taking donations for if kids only attend for 1 day a week? My husband says that I was being a Karen and that we should have just dropped it because it teaches our son that life isn't fair. Or it shows your son that no matter how hard you work or no matter if you do the right thing you are going to get screwed in the end. This could be really demotivating and I think you did the right thing. Not the asshole.
Not the asshole. Also, I am fucking tired of schools having to ask for donations for shit when the military gets billed $600 for hammers and our Congress is like lol money printer go burr for private corporations that don't pay taxes to bail out the stock market for rich people. We pay taxes to fund our public schools. Fucking fund them. Take the money from somewhere else. Prioritize our future and not our defense budget and the parasitic corporate elite. And #X200B. Children should not have to collect donations to be educated. We should provide that for them as a society. And also healthcare. And also regulations to protect our planet so they have a world to grow up in. And #X200B. Fuck these fucking fuckers. Not the asshole. Your husband needs to find his spine, and you guys need to figure out what the hell is wrong with that school.
What country or state are you in? Just curious at to the 1 day a week learning especially for elementary school. In New York, elementary students are all day every day. In the middle school and high school students attend school every other day. Not the asshole, by the way.
I would consider pulling your kid out of the school system for now. It doesn't sound as if he is getting a quality education. They have schools that are just online homeschooling.
Not the asshole. Defending your child's right to not be lied to is appropriate and expected parenting. Your husband's absurd belief that you shouldn't have done anything because it teaches him that life isn't fair is stupid. Children learn that lesson by having to cope with things that go wrong that are no one's fault, like grandma not being able to visit this week because she got sick. They learn a different, equally important lesson by being shown that they are allowed to stand up for themselves when they're being treated unfairly by a person or institution that could and should have chosen to behave differently. Not the asshole. It's insane that they're trying to use the children for profit. Do you have other options for school? Their learning plan seems like hot garbage.
She gets a bad rep, but sometimes Karen is needed in order for a person or organization not to walk all over you. Not the asshole.
Not the asshole. You weren't doing anything wrong. You stood up for your kid and supported him, something your husband clearly needs to learn how to do.